Creative is the great equalizer. You can compete with someone with a big ad budget if you've got great creative. And humor sells. Humor's great, but it doesn't work for every brand.
Welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs, growing 1% everyday podcast. Hello and welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs podcast, where we discuss how to grow 1% every day in both business and in self. Today, we have Nick Stagge from The Grounded Company, where he and his team are redefining what a scroll-stopping ad is. He's here to discuss the number one attribute to successful marketing campaigns in 2024, the creative. Thank you, Nick, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Where are you joining us from today?
We're based downtown Salt Lake City.
Oh, love it. I was just there. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, I was there about 2 weeks ago. I got family out in that area. I love Salt Lake, and we travel. I'll be back there in about 2 months for the Christmas time, so maybe I'll be able to come see you in person.
Yeah,
You're really, located in Salt Lake. Your beauty and your imagery, it definitely is defined in the beauty of that area. But I've gone through the back of your website now and kind of seen some of the creative that your team is developing and the position that you're putting your clients in to be successful in 2024 and beyond with the type of videos that you're putting out into the market. Can you tell me kind of where your background comes from, where you started this? Where does the energy come from that got this whole thing to flourish and be where it is today?
Yeah, look, it's a long story because I'm old, but I've done a lot of things. I did retail for a decade. I worked directly for brands like Skull Candy and GoPro for, collectively 6-7 years, something like that. And then I did CMO work for tech. And at every one of those companies, my belief and my experiences kept leaning me into creative is the great equalizer. It is the thing that separates everybody from, you can compete with someone with a big ad budget if you've got great creative. But if you, as an example, if you've got a great ad buyer and they're getting content in front of the right people, but no one wants to watch that content, so what? It doesn't matter how good the ad buyer is. So you have to be great at creative, and you can have great creative that goes viral without putting a dollar behind it. So when I decided to step out and start my own thing, I wanted to lean into something that I was passionate about, and I wanted to lean into something that I truly believed made a difference on top line and bottom line revenue for customers. So about 4 years ago, we started The Grounded Company, and we've just been off to the races ever since.
Incredible. And you can hear the listeners, entrepreneurs, he's 100% right? In today's day and age where the attention span of most human beings are spent between TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, the creative that you put out into the market really represents what you're doing as a business. And there's two ways to put out the creative. There's that old school flyer where you're just blasting an offer in someone's face. And then there's the storytelling where if you've heard any of these podcasts before or listened to any of these interviews, the businesses and the marketers that are being successful are the ones that are leaning into the empathy, leaning into the storytelling. I got a question for you, Nick. There's a lot of people in your space right now trying to be an incredible video editor, trying to make viral assets. What do you think is the biggest problem when it comes to, how these businesses are handled, how other companies are creating content? Where is your real differentiator that solves the problem? Because there's content everywhere, but not all content sells.
Yeah, well, I think there's a couple of problems, to be honest with you. One, you see a lot of video production companies and they lean into humor, and humor sells. Humor's great, but it doesn't work for every brand, right? It just doesn't work for every brand. But a lot of these video agencies are like, we do humor, and we do humor only. So I think that's a miss. I think really what you need to be focused on is what is the right emotion for your brand and your customer. Sometimes that emotion is humor. Sometimes that emotion is aspirational. Sometimes it's deeply sad and touching. But so we pride ourselves on creating content that works for your brand and your customers, not just our formula that we like to do funny. I think that's the first major problem in the market today. The second problem is we are inundated with ads and content and consumption. As consumers, it's everywhere. We don't even register probably 90% of the ads and the messaging that's put in front of us. So to expect one video to take a cold prospect all the way from awareness to purchase is pretty outlandish. Really what you need is a great video that drives top of funnel awareness. And then you need more creative that is message matched on your landing page, on your emails, on your display ads, your retargeting ads, your organic social content, your PDP. And if you're bringing on a video production company and they're like, here's we literally see other agencies pitching $300, $400, $500,000 videos. And they're like, take this and run with it and run ads. Like, that's not going to solve your problems. You have to have content everywhere your customers are. And depending on where they are and depending on where they are in their journey, that content needs to be catered a little bit differently. So at the Grounded Company, we do a lot of video production, but we also work on every part of that journey to make sure that we're bringing customers along and we're not just filling up a leaky bucket.
Nick, incredible. I mean, Nick hit the nail on the head for a position of a marketer, right? Where I've been sitting in a position of looking at this creative and seeing how it gets leveraged to actually generate revenue and sales. You're hitting something that is so missed in the market. As an entrepreneur or business owner listening to this right now, he is talking about developing creative and messaging for each stage of the funnel, right? Such a huge factor. And, you know, I don't know if you took a direct stab at him, but Harmon Brothers really changed the market, right? Harmon Brothers came out with the ad for Squatty Potty probably around a decade ago, and everyone thought that was the biggest thing and everyone needed to flow with that direction. Well, Harmon Brothers then broke off and created Chambers Media and multiple other media companies of people that were employed in Harmon Brothers, and they still are doing the same exact pitch and ideology of having those funny ads. But the fact that you are looking at it in a position, I mean, one of the most profitable ads we've ever seen runs on TV today, and it starts off with the sad music and donating money to people overseas or to dogs or to things of that nature. And as you said, the emotion that connects correctly with the brand and the ideal customer profile is the content that you need to create. That's what you need to live in, not just in a box of what they think was working a week, a year, or 2 years ago, right? So multitude of different emotional content, and then having it set up for the funnel is an incredible outlook on the creative development. If you're sitting in a position, well, let's dive into this a little bit, Nick. Who do you like to work with, right? With that being said, are you working with everybody underneath the sun to create this funnel journey and helping them out? Is there a budget that you like to sit within? If someone wanted, after hearing what you just said, which is, listen, for all entrepreneurs listening to this right now, is exactly what you want from a creative company. I haven't heard a better overall explanation of core values from a creative company in the last 10 years. Seriously. Who do you want to work with, Nick? Who's your ideal client? Who's somebody that can walk in through your front door that you know for a fact you're going to make them successful using your creative?
Well, it's helpful when you have a brand and a product that is defensible. It is unique. It is different. So, that can be the brand, that can be the product. Two very different examples of this. And I think they both have a good brand and good product. But you look at Dixon Flannel, they're one of our longest lasting clients. I mean, I think actually they were my very first client and they're still with us today. And these guys are doing 9 figures a year and they sell flannel. They sell flannels out of Phoenix, Arizona. But their brand is incredible in that they understand who their customers are. They make no apologies for who they are. You love them or you don't. They're very edgy. I mean, if you go to their website, if you go to social media, it's like, you know, full body face tattoos. It's girls in bikinis. It's counterculture. They have a great product. I mean, I wear their shirts almost every day. I wear their flannels almost every day. But the brand itself is incredible and it's defensible. It's unique and it's different. It's not just me too. So that's a really good example of a brand that is huge, that has something we can get behind. The reverse is true. There's a brand new baby bottle brand. They haven't even launched yet. But when they came in and showed us their product, their pre-revenue, pre-launch, this product is something that literally is turning the baby bottle industry upside down. Like, I've never seen anything like it. They've custom built it. It's protected, patents, the whole nine. And they understand, okay, we have this product, now we have to go tell the right message. So the first thing I look at is, do you have a brand or a product that is unique and defensible and that we can help get behind? But if you're a generic me too, it gets really tough. The second is, we want to work with a team, whether that's the founder or the marketing team, that understand you need content constantly. With everyone getting hit all day, every day with ads, messaging, content has the shortest shelf life you've ever seen. So not only is the attention span short to get them to watch it, they've watched it, they want something else. They want new, they want more. It's an insatiable appetite. So we want to work with brands who understand that and are willing to invest time and energy, and rightfully so, money, to create that content and to connect with their audience on a deep level. But the way our packages work, we can help build a brand that's doing 9 figures. We can also help a brand that hasn't even launched their Shopify site yet. So I'm much less interested in how much revenue are they doing and can they hit a minimum. We can adjust. We have processes for either side of it. We want to work with brands that are great brands and great products.
I love that, Nick. And is it specifically in the e-commerce space? Or are you also open to, like, say, restaurants, brick and mortar businesses, home improvement?
I would say 80% of what we do is e-com. We do love playing in other areas, specifically experiential stuff. So an example of this is Calle, which in Spanish means street. Their whole mission is youth soccer is broken. America has no chance in the Olympics, in the World Cup. MLS doesn't hold it's not even in the same ballpark as like the Premier League or Bundesliga. And Calle's big thing is, well, that's because America has turned it into a business. And it costs thousands and thousands of dollars for a 9-year-old to play soccer now. They've got coaches, they've got ref fees, they've got kits that they need. Well, why is it that teams in South America are destroying this? It's because they're playing in the streets. They're playing without rules. They're learning. They're falling in love with the game. It's not about money. So Calle is a street soccer brand that is basically like, instead of putting skate parks in your local park, they're putting street soccer courts in there and then hosting events. And so we actually just put on the Copa Calle event, which is like the World Cup qualifier for street soccer. Costs nothing to get in. It's open for anyone. And you basically play till you lose. The World Cup for street soccer is going to be held in Latvia later this year. I mean, it's incredible, right? So we love doing experiential things, whether that's street soccer, a restaurant, you name it. Like that sort of space is really, really fun for us.
So it's either got to have a really strong brand, a unique individual product, or it is something that's really focused on having a great story and a great moral process behind it. I love that. You're really leaning into, because creating a story and developing a good creative team is very complex. The right editors, the right shooters, the right storytellers, to put that all together and make a team like you have is not an easy thing. And I think a lot of business owners undermine how difficult it really is to get that storytelling out there correctly edited, published, and everything across the board. And you're leaning into, we know that we have that. So we're going to go after the businesses that really have a good brand story, have good values. Incredible, Nick. I mean, seriously, you brought up some ways that you guys are unique. The two ones that really hit me were the full funnel based creative advertising. And that one's very, very, very powerful. And then understanding the empathetic connection that you're trying to make. Can you dive in a little bit on how that resonates within your business and maybe in the core values, or how you speak to your actual employees to ensure that you guys are always looking for that emotion and that you're developing an idea for creative that goes through the entire sales pipeline?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm wondering what the right way to answer it is, but I think it comes back to our number one we have 5 culture codes at Grounded. And our number one culture code is be the Pando Forest. And I don't know if you know what the Pando Forest is. It is truly remarkable. It happens to be in Utah, kind of on the border of Utah and Colorado, southeast Utah. It is the single largest living organism on planet Earth. It also is the single oldest living organism on planet Earth. Like, we're talking tens of thousands of years old. And it's a forest of quaking trees. And what I like about this forest is when and I've been there, and when you walk through it, you know, it's beautiful. It's absolutely stunning. And you can look and you can see, well, that tree is really thin, but it's super tall. And this tree next to it is all crooked and it's contorted. And this tree over here is short and stumpy. Like, each tree is individually its own, and it's beautiful. But the reason that this forest has lasted so long is they're not individual trees. Deep underground, they share one root ball. We're talking thousands of square miles that share one root ball. And scientists have found out that when one tree is struggling, let's say it's malnourished, it's got hit with some sort of like disease, bugs, whatever, the rest of the forest sends support and nutrients deep underground to help that tree survive. If a forest fire comes through and burns them all down, the root ball's far enough underground that it doesn't die, and then it springs up new individual trees. So for us, the thought is like, look, we want to celebrate each individual on our team. We want to celebrate each founder or marketing member that we partner with. We want to celebrate each brand and product for who they are. I mean, we truly work with like some pretty hardcore right-wing companies, and we work with some companies that couldn't be more liberal, and we're okay with that because we want to celebrate those people for who they are. But we also want our team and our partners to understand that if you need something, we are one, and we're going to send help. We're going to send support. So when we think about that, I think it translates to our partners in the sense that we are not interested in creating a narrative and a message that works for us. We want to help uncover what's in their gut, what's in their heart, what they envision their brand to be, and we want to bring that to life and celebrate it. And so that might be a very like conceptual example, but I think it's at the core of who the Grounded company is.
I mean, perfect core value and a great analogy of breaking it down. My wife actually has pointed out those trees to me, and she's like, yeah, you see that patch of trees? That's all one tree that's coming out of the ground. They're just separate entities. So I know what you're talking about, and I will be stopping there on my next trip to Utah. You have one in the corner there. Look at that.
I mean, that tree, those trees right there are from the Pando Forest. I mean, it's a daily reminder to me.
I love that. And just the idea that you're all central connected, and that if there's a problem in one area or another, you're able to support that entire entity and the aspect of growing the business. So again, entrepreneurs, business owners listening to this right now, you know, you have someone that not only understands a core value of connectivity and being a part of your business and finding out the root value of your company, but then being able to create that into a visual effect that really brings in emotion, that brings in the storytelling, that closes business while developing your brand. Nick, you've created something beautiful here. Really have. My question then always stems, once I realized, you know, we were talking to a great business owner, it's what got you here, right? Not so much the backstory, but to be an amazing individual like yourself who really has the system structured and knows what they're talking about. It takes confidence from trials and tribulations. So my question to you, in the last 4 years that you've been running the business, what's the biggest challenge that you've faced in the development of this business, and kind of how have you overcome that? Has it changed your business at all? What does it look like today? But can you pinpoint a single time that you had to overcome something very difficult with the Grounded company?
I mean, in entrepreneurship, it's every day, you know, and I think the thing that I have to remind myself frequently is, in business, you're going to be faced with problems. it's a part of life. It's a part of business. I've worked at GoPro. We were doing more than $1 billion a year in revenue, and internally we had a ton of problems. And I've worked with businesses or started my own, and on day one there were problems, right? So like, accepting that is really important.
Mm.
And then I think the other thing that helps, and what I remind myself about constantly, is I bucket problems into two big groups. Are these dying pains or are these growing pains? And you certainly have dying pain. You can experience dying pains, right? Like, oh my gosh, I just lost 35% of my revenue in a month. I have a bad customer review. I'm strapped on cash. Whatever it might be, there are some dying pains, and they're varying levels there. Obviously, being cash poor is a very different dying problem than a bad review, but you get the idea, right? Like, there are dying pains, and then there are growing pains. And growing pains are, I can't keep up with demand. Quality is slipping because quantity is increasing. You have these things where, like, okay, we don't have great SOPs in place because we haven't been big enough to need them. We had one person managing that book of the business. We didn't have to replicate it across multiple people. Well, now that we have multiple people, we're struggling because we don't have SOPs. If you can categorize your pains into growing pains or dying pains, it really helps you kind of like manage it. If it's a dying pain, you better put on your big boy pants and like get your ass to work. If it's a growing pain, you still need to do that, but it's suddenly a whole lot less scary, and you can actually kind of celebrate the moment, and you can celebrate the pain a bit. So I know that's not a specific example, but it's a mindset that for the past however many years I've had to embrace in order to just stay sane and confident and focused on the future.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine how many people listening to this resonate with that. I know I do. Personally, I'm hearing you talking. It's like, yep, it's every day. It's every day. You're either waking up with a fire, or I got the, it's a firefighter's job. It's an emotional supporting job. As an entrepreneur, all of us listening understand the complications that come into it. But great way to position it. Having two major buckets. One, this is a pain that I can celebrate. This is not a bad pain. I need to fix it, of course, because it's pain, but it's something that means we're moving in the right direction. Or there's a pain that this is an actual fire. I need to put this out. I need to fix this, AKA. And as you said, put the big boy pants on and make sure you put out the flame. So yeah, I love that. And listen, the whole backstory of the business, of kind of where you've came from, your background, the Grounded company, what you've built today is incredible. I mean, I can't say it enough, but I've met with a lot of creative agencies, and there's a differentiation to every single one of them. As an entrepreneur listening, if you're looking for a creative agency and you're going through your quotes and you're understanding the differentiations, looking to somebody like Nick and the Grounded company to understand what it really means to get a top level creative company in your back pocket, listen to this podcast twice. Right? Because the fact that he's bringing up so many core factors of the connectivity with the client, the way to storyboard, the way to develop, is structured in a way that I believe is the success that we need today and for the next 3 to 5 years until we start seeing major changes in how we actually absorb visual content. So that's my next question for you, Nick. Where do you see the future going? In the next 5 to 10 years, do you see things changing dramatically? I know Meta just released their new their AR glasses. There's been the VR glasses that have been around for a long time now. Do you see a major change or shift happening in the next 5 to 10 years on how we promote businesses through visual content?
I mean, it's absolutely going to happen, right? And then it's going to happen again, and then it's going to happen again. It's just the world that we live in. It's always going to be there, and so I think accepting that and recognizing when something new comes out, you have to do your research. You have to dig in. It doesn't mean you have to go all in, right? Those things, while they happen fast, you also have a little bit of grace period. So you don't have to be first. You just can't be last. So make sure that you do that research, you follow up, and then you're trying new things. At the core, though, I do think whatever the median is, whether it is radio or print or digital or glasses, it's about connecting emotionally with your audience. Most people decide to buy based on emotion first, and then they justify it with logic. Doesn't work the other way around. Not usually. So if you can win that emotional game, and then all you have to do is drop in a couple logical points on why to buy, I don't care what platform it is, you're going to have success. So I think that is really the key. Really what's interesting is how much better we'll be able to segment over time and let people even maybe self-select what content they're engaging with and watching. And because with so much right now, there's just a lot of noise. If you can narrow that down, you're going to be in a much, much stronger place. So at the moment, we try to narrow down our audience through the creative, because everything that Meta has done, it's made it harder and harder to get into that finite group of people. So yeah, you got to let the content do some of that qualification work for you.
That's great. I mean, and again, I think Nick hit the first point that he made is that it's going to change, and it's going to change again. And just to be on top of that. But I agree with you 100%. The core values of messaging, developing community, creating emotional connections, those will always stand true. My father's a therapist, and one of the core things that he always talks about is that decision making across the board is made through emotion, right? Logically, we can think of all we want, but if you remove emotion from the human body, the only thing that you will remove from us is decision making. Decisions is what make emotions, or emotions is what makes decisions. I apologize, but Nick, 100% right. And I love your perspective on it is that, you take kind of the Amazon perspective of we're malleable. We understand that we're going to change and we're adapt, but we have the core values of taking care of our people and understanding the root cause of what we do to help business owners and how our creative really is supposed to function in the psychology of the sales with the client. Yeah. I love that.
The flexibility is so important. I mean, it's something that I talk about with my team a lot. This phrase that we've coined, structured freedom. Excuse me. This phrase we call structured freedom. I'm a big believer that if you have a little bit of structure and you understand the nuances of the game, you can actually be way more creative. You can actually do things like that's where creativity hits. An example of this, and I know he's, and probably rightfully so, I know he's taken some heat lately, but Dr. Seuss. And I don't know if you know how he wrote Cat in the Hat, but the story behind this is incredible. He had tried to write a children's book for like 20 or 30 years and struggled. No one would publish it. No one would pick it up. And he had some literature, like masterminds, thought leaders, whatever you want to call it, come to him and they're like, okay, look, we want you to write a book that first and second graders can't put down. And my own words, I'm paraphrasing, but the story goes like, yeah, pound sand, guys. I've tried for 30 years, can't freaking figure it out. Tough shit. And these guys came back to him and said, no, look, there's 232 approved words in the vocabulary list for first and second graders. I only want you to write a book with those 232 words. If it's not on that list, don't use the word. And he started scanning, and of course, he read cat, and then he read hat. And if you look at that book, they are all first and second grade approved vocab from that time. He had structure, and that structure enabled him to be more creative. But when he was blue sky and there were no rules, he really struggled to write something that was creative. So, and I think that works in creativity. I think that actually works in operations. I think that works in maybe every discipline of business, sales, finance, it doesn't matter. If you can create some structured freedom for yourself, you can accomplish things that maybe you couldn't have otherwise.
And for the listeners, Nick's not saying put your creative people in a box. He's saying just give them a foundation to flourish.
Yeah, right? Please, yes.
Yeah.
It's not that you need to tell them what to do. It's more important that you tell them why, and then you let them interpret what and how.
Nick Stagge, obviously a very intelligent individual, man. You have built something that gets me excited, right? This is things that we've been studying and trying to implement across the board. And it's not easy. And you seem to make it look and sound very, very easy. So I have to ask you, and these are one of my favorite questions when it comes to the podcast, how do you find your Kaizen? So for the listeners out there, Kaizen is a Japanese business philosophy that means 1% improvement every single day in both business and in self. And I know personally, I have Alex Hormozi's book sitting in front of me. I was just listening to a podcast. There might be some YouTube videos listening tonight. But one of the biggest things that I found is development and a creation of social circle that brings and elevates the mindset of me and the people around me. And a lot of the previous podcasters says that's one of their main things is meeting people and engaging with people. But I'm curious as a creator, someone that understands both psychology, empathy, and the creation of this content. What are you doing to educate yourself, make yourself better, and improve you and your team on a daily basis?
I mean, we're doing a lot. I think where that stems from is understanding my why. And when I was 19, I convinced the district manager at Zoomies to hire me to run a store, like to be a store manager. I'd never done retail before. Should have got the job. Got the job. Within 3 years, I got promoted to run all the stores in 2 states. So I'm 21, 22 years old, running, 20 stores, managing 400 or 500 people. And when I got the promotion, and it was like 2 days later, we flew up to Washington, which was where corporate was. And the founder, Tom Campion, who is like a second dad to me. I love this human being. One of the greatest people I've ever met in my life. But he sits me down at dinner and he says, "I'm so glad that you work for me." And I turned and I looked at him and I said, and then looking back, I'm like, wow, I was bold. But I was like, with all due respect, Tom, I don't work for you. I work with you. You write my paycheck. You sign my paycheck. But I don't work for you. I work for myself, and I work for my wife, and I work for my kid. And now I've got 4 kids, right? But he kind of looked at me and was like, "What did you just say to me?" And I'm like, "Look, man, I love you, and I want to perform, but I want to perform, and I need to perform so I can have a roof over my family, so I can spend time with my family, so I can be with them. And as much as I like you, Tom, I'm always going to choose my family first. That's why you know that as long as I'm employed here, I'm going to work my friggin' ass off to deliver, because I'm not going to let my family down." And for me, it's understanding my why is family, and it's really like a race against the clock to see how much time I can spend with them. So if I'm not getting better every single day, I'm delaying the amount of time I can spend with my family, because it's a reality. We all have to make a few bucks to live in this world, right? So like, I want to do it. I want to get in there. I want to make it happen. And then I want to be able to retire. I want to be able to step away and spend time with my family, spend time enjoying the limited time that we have on this earth. So that literally is what gets me up in the morning and makes me go, how can I be better today than I was yesterday?
Nick, I have 11-month-old, my first kid, 11-month-old baby, and I can't tell you how much I resonate with that.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
And it goes by so fast. I mean, my oldest turns 20 next week.
Yeah.
So it goes by so fast. And I know it's cliche, but dude, we don't have a lot of time on this earth, and we might as well make advantage of it.
Yeah, and that to be your motivation, that rock, that because I feel it too. As a new father, if you're a business owner listening to this right now and you're not a parent, you can't explain it. I'm 30 years old and I have a kid, and up till 29, I did not realize the emotional change that happens when you have a child. But it is something that's absolutely incredible, and it's a great reason to be motivated every single day. It means you're an amazing husband. It means you're an amazing father, Nick. If that's your motivation every day, I love hearing that.
Try.
Yeah.
Sure.
That it actually, gets me really excited for this next question. This will be my last question for you. It's a little bonus question. And I've had so many different answers to this question. After what you just said, I'm very curious of what yours would be. Have you ever heard of the book Atlas Shrugs?
No.
So Atlas Shrugs is an extremely large book, and it's a story that explains that it starts off with the precursor that business owners like you, like me, like anybody listening to this podcast right now, business owners are the ones that put the world on our shoulders. We change the world. Our efforts, our business, everything that we do changes the way that society moves forward. Everything from Henry Ford building his car to us running a marketing agency changes what happens. The book Atlas Shrugs talks about all of us as business owners are Atlas. We put the stress of the world on our shoulders and move the world forward every single day. What happens if all of us, you, me, and every other business owner in the world, just decided to give it up and stop running a business? And today, every single business in the world fell apart. What would be the first business that you would create tomorrow?
Oh man, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, my mind goes to what are the things that I could monetize while also taking care of my family, right? Like I'm a big believer in leverage. I'm a big believer in doing things that are compounding, one on top of the other. Like as an example, I own the Grounded Company. We're a creative agency for D2C e-com brands. Well, I also am an owner of a retail brokerage firm that helps brands go from online into shelves on Target, Walmart, Costco, Sam's Club. Those two things support one another, right? I'm able to have two businesses and not actually do the work of two businesses because they support each other and there's so much overlap. So if everyone stopped, my thought went to, well, how would I then take care of my family? How would I provide shelter, food, resources, opportunity for my kids? And the answer to that likely unlocks the business I would try to start.
Still sticking with your why, as Simon Sinek would say. You hold to your why. I love that.
You got it. I mean, look, the reverse is if I had 50 million bucks sitting in the bank, no disrespect, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I would be with my wife and kids. We would be, it's not about just like giving them everything, but it's about preparing them for this life. But I would find absolute fulfillment and joy in just dedicating all of my time to my family, my friends, my loved ones. I would not be working. I love work. It does fulfill me to some capacity. But the truth is if money were not at play, I would fill my time doing other things.
Nick Stagge from the Grounded Company. Honestly, one of the reasons I started this podcast was to find morally, ethically driven business owners that are doing things to grow companies while they're doing it in a way that is driven by their why. And that why comes from a very positive place. And I can tell from this short conversation, you come from a very positive place of helping people around you, helping your family, and building something that is based around knowledge and true success, but you put in the sweat equity and the understanding to deliver assets that truly grow businesses. Again, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, if you need visual content, you need videos that really resonate with your consumer base and is used to grow your company, not just to get your name out into the market or not just to put you on social media, but to really put you in a position where people will understand who you are, why you do what you do, and why they should buy your product. Nick, how can these people find you? How would they get connected with you if they want to use your service?
We're on LinkedIn, or you could go to thegroundedcompany.com.
And their website is awesome. As soon as you hit that, you'll see the creativity that this company has, some of their examples there. It is really beautiful. So, Nick, thank you so much for your time. And listeners, if you have finished it up to now, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the page. We appreciate you listening, and we'll see you on the next one. Again, Nick Stagge from the Grounded Company. We really appreciate you. Have a good one.